Part 14. Rebirth of a Farming Wife. Author, Tien. Chapter 131. Hanyu was originally going to go hunting in the mountains the next day, but he was worried that Su Wenyu stayed at home for another day. Although Su Wenyu ate a lot, it was considered normal. In addition, Su Wenyu explained that she was tired yesterday, and it had been too long since I had eaten something delicious, so I was hungry, so I felt relieved and started busying with things at home. After the family was separated, Su Wenyu was thinking about how to organize the house so that she could have a relatively free space. She didn't want to be under the eyes of her husband's family every day. She originally wanted to build a wall in front of the house, but after thinking about it, she still felt like this not so good, not to mention the parents-in-law will have objections, people in the village will also gossip when they see it, and if the wall is built properly, is this to prevent thieves? Su Wenyu thought about it, and then thought, how about just building a few houses? Anyway, their current house is dilapidated and not enough to live in. Xiao 11 has always lived in the utility room. Although she is very grateful for the tidying up, such a small place is a bit damp and cold. Su Wenyu always feels that she can't help Xiao 11. It doesn't cost much to build a few houses. There are not so many details in the countryside. Even if you build a better house, it will only cost dozens of taels of silver. It will definitely be more spacious and bright than the village chief's house. Let's talk about Su Wenyu. It was also for the sake of the child in her belly. Although it was more than 8 months before the child was born, everything had to be planned. It didn't matter that Su Wenyu felt wronged, but she wanted to give her child a good growth condition. Thinking of the suffering her son suffered in her previous life, Su Wenyu's heart throbbed with pain. Su Wenyu was a man of action, and she would do it if she thought of it. However, Hanyu had to agree to it, so she immediately told Hanyu her idea. She originally thought that Hanyu would agree, but was rejected by Hanyu. Su Wenyu was a little depressed and also she couldn't understand why Hanyu would disagree. Hanyu had been very obedient to her during this period. Sir, why don't you agree? Building a house is a good thing, but the place we live in is too crowded. Xioxi is so loyal and willing to follow me, and she is not afraid of hardships. I don't want her to live in a small room all the time. It's too unfair. Yes, it's not like our family doesn't have the conditions. I know you don't want me to use the dowry, but we are husband and wife and we are a family. There is no need to worry about it so much. My husband, you are a capable and ambitious person. I believe that one day you will be able to do it. It doesn't take much money to achieve a great career, not to mention building a few houses. Even if Hanyu disagreed, Su Wenyu did not give up the idea of building a house at all. After having this plan, she felt more and more sad that she was living a life of doing nothing under the eyes of her husband's family. She tried her best to persuade Hanyu and wanted to if Hanyu didn't agree, she could finally get Hanyu to agree by moving the child out of her belly later. Hanyu's reluctance to build a house was naturally not what Su Wenyu had guessed. He was a determined person, so how could he be affected by the gossip of the gossips in the village? If he wanted to live in the village permanently, it would be good to build a house, but he had other plans for his wife's arrangements. If it went as expected, his wife would not be able to live in the village for long, so there was no need to go to all the trouble of building a house. A house, not to mention building a house, is not that easy. You have to order the materials to build the house before you can start. At that time, he is probably not at home anymore. The wife has to worry about everything and arrange everything. She has always been pampered and raised. Who knows? He couldn't bear to do this, and he couldn't bear to worry about his wife working so hard. However, it was obvious that his daughter-in-law had a strong desire to build a house. Hanyu watched helplessly as his daughter-in-law kept talking about the benefits of building a house, etc., trying to convince himself that her daughter-in-law would not be so easy unless she told him a reason. I gave up, wondering if I should reveal my plans. Daughter-in-law, it's not what you think, Han Yu sighed, but still expressed his plan. Su Wenyu had previously thought that Han Yu was a man of chauvinism and was unwilling to use her money to build a house. Who knew that this was why Han Yu actually planned to do so? Because of her previous life's experience, Su Wenyu habitually assumed what happened in her previous life, but she didn't want everything to change due to the changes after her rebirth. Take the relationship between Han Yu and the Su family for example. In her previous life, Su Wenyu had resentment towards her natal family and would not go back easily. She even mocked Han Yu for being a flattering person to her natal family and was not a man. Although Han Yu respected the Yu family, because of Su Wenyu's attitude, he was always a bit temperamental as a man, and later he gradually became alienated from the Yu family. In this life, Su Wenyu understands her parents' painstaking efforts, and is even thinking about Han Yu's future. She wants Han Yu to have a good relationship with her natal family, so that she can take care of her natal family in the future, so Han Yu has a good relationship with the Su family. Han Yu admired his family's character even more. Coupled with Mr. Su's attitude, Han Yu regarded the Su family as relatives in his heart. Even though Su Hongxian sometimes couldn't stand the man who stole his sister, and his attitude didn't seem to be that good, but he also sincerely thought about Han Yu, his brother-in-law. Han Yu couldn't help but feel that he became closer to the Yu family. Due to some connections, Han Yu did not let his parents and brothers know about the conscription. Moreover, from their perspective, they could not discuss such a matter, but he discussed it with his father-in-law and brother-in-law. Master Su and Su Hongxian, one who cared about their daughter and the other who cared about their sister, were not willing to let Han Yu be assigned to a place too far away. They thought of a way to use their connections to help Han Yu find a junior official from the 8th rank. Although he was a minor official of the 8th rank, Han Yu's background and experience made this position the most suitable. Master Su thought about it several times before he took this position. Otherwise, he could have spent more money to get a higher position. Master Su really cared about his son-in-law. He had experienced a lot in his life and knew what was good for his son-in-law. This position is neither at the bottom, and it doesn't matter if you have to endure too much hardship and you may not be able to climb up. It will not be envied by others just because of the prominent position, and even make Han Yu feel superior at the beginning, which is not conducive to the growth of his state of mind. Master Su always insisted that only those who endure hardships can become superior people, and he has always been strict with his two sons. In Master Su's view, Han Yu has the ability and ambition, but lacks experience. He needs to grow up from the bottom and go further after he has a solid foundation. However, although Master Su wanted to train his son-in-law, it would be much better to have someone to help him in the officialdom than for Han Yu to fight alone in his previous life. At that time, Han Yu was just a private, a rookie, and was not allowed to leave the barracks easily, let alone go home. Although he was still in Xinyi, it would take several months for him to go home. He did not have much more free time than he does now. Although he could not go back every day, as long as he was not too far from the barracks, it was not a problem to go back every 1 or 2 days, so he made such a plan. Rebirth of a Farming Wife. Author, Tianni. Chapter 132. So that's it? Why didn't you tell me earlier? You made me think blindly, Su Wenyu said with some complaints. What Han Yu said is not something that can be decided in a moment. Since it has reached this level, it must be he had already planned it. If he hadn't insisted on building a house today, Han Yu probably wouldn't have said anything about it. It's not settled yet. I'm afraid that if something happens, your happiness will be in vain. Han Yu knew that his wife was a little careless in some aspects and was afraid that her daughter-in-law would misunderstand his intentions. I know, Su Wenyu responded with a smile. Although she was a little upset that Han Yu didn't discuss things with her in advance, she was still happy in her heart. Han Yu's starting point was for her sake, and Han Yu had some thoughts that were different from that person's. Similarly, they don't like women to interfere with men's affairs outside. Su Wenyu doesn't have to care about it. She is not very interested in men's affairs outside. She just hopes that Han Yu can say hello to her and discuss it in advance if it involves her own affairs. One time. You are not allowed to hide anything when you encounter it in the future, and you have to say hello to me no matter what. I don't want to care about your affairs outside, but I just have an idea in my heart at least, so that I don't know everything until it happens. Since Su Wenyu thinking this way, I told Han Yu directly, otherwise Han Yu wouldn't be able to know what thoughts he was always holding in his heart. Han Yu touched Su Wenyu's head and agreed. He didn't mean to hide it originally. He just felt that this kind of thing was a man's business and there was no need for his wife to worry about it. Since his wife had such intention, he would pay attention to it in the future. Knowing that she wouldn't be able to live in the Han family for long, Su Wenyu stopped fussing and raised her baby with peace of mind. Xiao 11 didn't have to worry about all the things at home, which was quite comfortable. Han Yu's plan was told by Su Wenyu to Xiao 11. Xiao 11 was only happy for Su Wenyu after hearing it. She was originally worried that the young lady and her uncle would be separated for a long time. The uncle was good-looking and capable, so he would inevitably have those unwanted things. The naughty woman is staring at her, but the young lady is still in front of her, so that's what the cousin is like. If she were far away, it would be even more worrying, but now it's better. Xiao 11 was confused if she cared, and she didn't want to think about the fact that the military camp was full of men, not to mention that Han Yu was new to the army, so he had no time to think about this. However, when people are lying in bed, it is easy to think too much after sleeping too much and feeling refreshed. Su Wenyu thought of another thing at this time. Han Yu must have lived in the military camp when he went there. Not to mention that there were rules in the military camp that did not allow women to come and go. It was impossible for Su Wenyu to live in a man's place, so where would she live if she followed Han Yu there? Han Yu just told Su Wenyu about his thoughts, so Su Wenyu became worried. After asking Han Yu, he found out that she lived in a town near the military camp, and asked Xiao 11 to prepare the necessary things. Don't worry, I will arrange everything. You can just take Xiao 11 with you when the time comes. Don't worry about anything else. Han Yu handled things safely, so naturally Su Wenyu would not worry about this kind of thing. Su Wenyu really didn't take it to heart when she heard what Han Yu said. She was very confident in Han Yu's ability to do things. Besides, it was easy to rent a yard in the town. It was just a matter of spending some money. It was really not worth worrying about, but I wonder if Han Yu put a lot of thought into this matter. Han Yu felt that his wife had to be pampered. Even if he rented a yard in the town, it would not be too bad. Otherwise, he would be afraid that his wife would not live comfortably, and her food and clothing must be good. In this way, the monthly income would be enough. A lot of money. If the Han family were rich, this would not be a problem. However, Han Yu didn't save much money at all. It was not easy for his daughter-in-law to live a good life. Even a penny stumps a hero. Even the majestic and powerful prime minister in his previous life, before he achieved success, he was just a poor man in the countryside. He worked hard to make more money for his wife to live a good life. Tomorrow I am going to go into the mountains with Ashuang. This time it will take a long time. It will take about 3 or 4 days. You can wait at home without worrying about me, Han Yu said in an understatement, as if it was an ordinary and trivial matter. Su Wenyu was still a little worried after hearing this. After all, Han Yu had gone to the mountains to hunt in the past. Although he sometimes stayed overnight to guard the cunning prey, he had never been there for such a long time. Why does it take so long? It will take 3 or 4 days. There are many ferocious beasts in the depths of the forest. You will enter the military camp soon, so why don't you go, or just hunt some small prey outside the forest? Don't do this, fight hard, Su Wenyu advised. Don't worry. I have learned hunting since I was a child. I am very familiar with the woods. Even if there is danger, I can avoid it. Nothing has happened to me in so many years. Besides, I have Chen Chuang going with me. We can take care of each other. You don't have to worry. Han Yu still spoke in a relaxed tone, but he knew in his heart that this matter was somewhat dangerous. Han Yu also wanted to earn enough money at once, so he decided to target the big insect in the mountains. The big insect is no better than ordinary prey, it is the king of the forest, and ordinary people will be scared to death when they see it. However, Han Yu had an idea of it. If he could get the money for his wife to live, he would not have to worry about it. I can leave some for my parents to chew. Although Han Yu is not one of those narrow-minded people who won't listen to the words outside, nor is he a pedantic person who doesn't know how to adapt, but as a man he also has his own pride. As a grown man, he should support his wife and let her live a happy life. In a good life, it's not like he doesn't have this ability. If he can't do it continuously, he will look down on himself. Su Wenyu didn't know that Han Yu had set his sights on the king of the forest, otherwise she would have been scared to death. How could this man be so brave? Seeing that Han Yu had made up his mind, she stopped trying to persuade him. In his previous life, Han Yu had fought in countless battlefields and survived under the swords and blood. Hunting couldn't be more dangerous than fighting in the battlefield, so it should be fine. Su Wenyu felt relieved and didn't think about it anymore. She just asked Xioxi to prepare some dry food for Han Yu on the road and some medicine for his injuries. It was always good to be more prepared to stay in the forest for such a long time. Su Wenyu was still thinking that when Han Yu came back from hunting this time, she would announce the good news of her pregnancy and make Han Yu happy. What's wrong? Why is there so much noise outside? What happened? Su Wenyu sent Han Yu away early in the morning and went back to bed to catch up on her sleep. She was dreaming when she was awakened by the noise outside. She asked with some dissatisfaction, but she had no intention of getting up. She lazily nestled in the quilt. Miss, I'll go and take a look. Xioxi was busy with her work. When she heard the noisy sound outside disturbing her young lady, she frowned and walked out, wanting to see what was going on. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of a Farming Wife. Author, TNNI. Chapter 133. What's going on? Su Wenyu asked with squinted eyes when she heard Xiao 11 came back from asking. Miss, it turns out that because of Zhang Chunlin's incident, the Zhang family came to the door after hearing the news. The old man and the old lady are separating from the Zhang family at the moment. I wonder if they will cause trouble to us. Xiao 11 said worriedly, if she was not worried at ordinary times, and with her protection, the young lady is not easy to suffer, even if she is facing Shang Jiang's family, she would not be afraid. Now that the young lady is pregnant, there is no room for negligence. A lot of people from the Zhang family have come, and they are noisy and pushing. There are so many people and they are busy. She is afraid that if she is not careful, those people will hurt the young lady. But at this time, her uncle not here either. Looking at the posture of the Zhang family just now, Xiao 11 felt that the Zhang family were all barbarians. It's the Zhang family, Su Wenyu said, not very surprised. It has been a few days, and the news that Zhang Chunlin was imprisoned in the county government has spread. It's time for the Zhang family to arrive. See Yang Juxiang's reaction to Zhang Chunlin. Zhang Chunlin is still valued in the Zhang family, so she should come and take a look. Zhang Chunlin was escorted by Han Yu and sent to the county government together with the gangsters. The circumstances of the case were simple and clear. In addition, those young people were not really that courageous. They were instigated by Zhang Chunlin and did not expect that it would be so serious. As a result, when he saw the county magistrate, he was extremely frightened. He was so frightened that he trembled and resorted to anything. The Su family had already informed the government in advance, so what happened next could be predicted. "Miss, I see those people are very rude. If they come to the door later, I'm afraid they will hurt the lady. The lady will stay in the room and don't go out. Let the slave deal with them." 11 thought for a while and thought that this was the only better way. Su Wenyu was completely awake now. She narrowed her eyes after listening to Xiao 11's words, which contained a dangerous message: joke. "I didn't do anything wrong, why should I hide in the room? Zhang Chunlin has harmed me. I am a member of the Zhang family if I want to deal with it. What's more, I am such a fearful person. If someone comes to my door, I will only hide and avoid being laughed at. No one will dare to come to my door in the future." Xiao 11 became more and more anxious when she heard what Su Wenyu said. "Miss, now is not the time to be angry. I know that you are not a timid person, but you are not alone now. You have to take care of the child in your belly. If you are not in your heart, just go back and get the situation back, don't go into a head-on confrontation with them, it's not worth it." Su Wenyu sighed when she saw Xiao 11's anxious look. She had lived 2 lifetimes, how could she be such an ignorant person, but Xiao 11's argument didn't work. "Xiao 11, don't worry, your lady, I am not that reckless person. I would not care about the child in my belly. But the idea you came up with may not work. If nothing else, the Zhang family is always my mother-in-law's relative. For the sake of my mother-in-law, I, as a daughter-in-law, can't ignore the Zhang family. But I'm just meeting the Zhang family, and I don't intend to fight with them. With you protecting me, it's okay to be careful." Xiao 11 knew that what Su Wenyu said made sense, even if she was still a little worried, she couldn't help it. "Okay, miss, you must be careful and don't hurt the child in your belly. If someone from the Zhang family takes action, you can hide in the slave girl's room behind." At this time, the Zhang family was having a quarrel with the Yang family. Because of Zhang Chunlin's incident, the old sisters Yang Juxiang and Yang Gaixiang had a complete falling out, and all their previous friendship was gone. "Sister, I trusted you, so I entrusted Chunlin to you and let her stay in the Han family. But now something like this happened. Your son sent my good daughter to the government, and her whole life's future has been ruined. Why are you so cruel? Sister, I don't want to be like this, but what Chunlin did this time is really wrong. The 4th child is so angry that I can't stop Chunlin from sending her to the government. I don't know why this child Chunlin has such a bad temper. He became even more left-wing, disregarding his daughter's family honors and hanging out with the idle young men in the village, which almost killed his 4th daughter-in-law," Yang explained. "What do you mean? Chunlin is such a person. The daughter I have raised for more than 10 years has always been fine. How come she became like this when she arrived at the Han family? She was clearly framed and used. I don't care about anything else now. You guys just return my daughter to me, otherwise this matter will never end," Yang Juxiang said in a loud voice. Although they had done nothing wrong, what happened to Zhang Chunlin at the Han family made Yang always feel a little unjust and wanted to explain something, but Wang didn't know what was going on. "Auntie is right. Cousin Chunlin is a well-behaved person. How could she do such a thing? Someone must be displeased with Cousin Chunlin, so they set up this trap, waiting for Cousin Chunlin to jump and let others lead her into bad ways." After the family separation, although Ms. Yang was still her mother-in-law, she could only scold her a few times, but she could not do anything to her. Ms. Wang was not as timid as before, and jumped out to disrupt the situation again. Seeing what Wang said, Yang Juxiang didn't say anything, but looked at Wang carefully, as if trying to discern the authenticity of Wang's words. When Wang saw Yang Juxiang like this, she stepped forward more and more, and, "Cousin Chunlin is the closest to me on weekdays. I know very well what kind of temper cousin Chunlin is. What happened that time was also because of the relationship between the fourth couple and Chunlin. It was too much. Chunlin did something stupid in a moment of excitement. Originally, the fourth daughter-in-law was only slightly injured, but she didn't know that the fourth daughter-in-law had to send Chunlin's cousin to the county government. She really didn't care about the relationship between relatives at all. Damn it, a daughter's family has been jailed by the county government. What hope does she have in this life? Auntie, you have to make the decision for Chunlin. Ms. Wang pretended to wipe her tears as she spoke. Yang Juxiang didn't know what to think after hearing what Mr. Wang said. There was a faint sneer at the corner of her mouth. Brother Lin's daughter-in-law is really kind-hearted. I'm thinking about Chunlin. Look at what Aunt said, this is what it should be. Ms. Wang thought that Yang Juxiang had listened to her words, and she felt a sense of pleasure in her heart, but she pretended to be more and more like it on her face, but she didn't know that Yang Juxiang was being raped before she finished speaking. Yang Juxiang slapped her face with such force that a red mark immediately appeared on Wang's face. "Aunt, what are you doing? Why are you hitting me?" Wang was a little stunned by Yang's beating, and she wanted to curse in her heart, this old woman is crazy. I don't understand that Yang Juxiang, who is good-looking, doesn't go to Su Wenyu, the culprit, but takes it out on her. Yang Juxiang's face was filled with a sneer. You little hooves, don't think that I don't know what your evil intentions are. My Chunlin was instigated by you to do bad things. The old wife and her husband are not good people, and you are not much better, After Yang Juxiang finished speaking, she led the Zhang family to Su Wenyu's room. Rebirth of a Farming Wife. Author, Tian Ni. Chapter 134. Miss, people from the Zhang family are here. Xiao 11 noticed the movements of the Zhang family at any time, and said quickly when she saw the Zhang family coming over. Su Wenyu had already gotten up and took care of herself. When Xiao 11 said that people from the Zhang family were coming, she didn't panic and still sat there. In Xiao 11's opinion, this behavior was too calm. Han Yu's daughter-in-law, come out here, you cruel woman, why did Wei Chunlin touch you? It's okay that you robbed her husband, but now you're still hurting her like this. If you don't give us an explanation, don't blame us, we're not welcome, Yang Juxiang shouted outside. This time with so many people, she felt confident and yelled at the top of her lungs. Xiao 11, go and see where the shrew is from outside, howling and screaming. Su Wenyu's voice was not too loud, just enough for people outside to hear. Yang was already angry, but she became even more irritable after hearing Su Wenyu's words. Su Wenyu, what are you talking about? You actually dare to call me a shrew? I am your elder after all. You little bitch, do you know what it means? Respect your elders. At this time, Xiao 11 had opened the door, and Su Wenyu was face to face with the Zhang family. Oh, it turns out it's you, Aunt. I'm so sorry. I didn't know it was you. I just heard the shouting outside. She was clearly like those shameless shrews in the village. My aunt has lived in the Han family for so many days. I still know a little bit about my aunt, and I couldn't be more reasonable. The difference between the before and after is too big. I didn't associate my aunt with those shrews for a while, so I didn't hear it. Don't mind, Aunt, Su Wenyu said with a chuckle, although it was an explanation, every word stimulated Yang Juxiang's nerves, making Yang Juxiang's face look even more ugly. This time I'm mocking her. She would be dead if she couldn't hear such obvious words. Yang Juxiang glared at Su Wenyu hatefully, but she couldn't say anything to refute. This woman Su Wenyu was too cunning, and she was so polite. Where can I find food and accommodation in this country? What's wrong, Aunt? I see you don't look well. Have you not had a good rest these days? That's right. If cousin Chunlin does something like that, her family members should be ashamed and worried. No wonder and can't sleep well. After all, it's rare to find a girl who is as bold as cousin Chunlin and disregards her reputation. But Aunt still has to take care of her body. Don't get angry because of cousin Chunlin, it's not worth it. Su Wenyu tried to comfort her with good intentions. Yang was no longer angry, but her heart, liver, and lungs were so angry that she came to seek an explanation for her daughter's matter. She originally thought that Su Wenyu would show weakness or even shirk responsibility, but she had already made plans. Who knew that Su Wenyu didn't follow the routine at all, and actually took the initiative to mention Chunlin's matter, without showing any signs of guilt. Not only Yang Juxiang, but also the Zhang family members who came with her were angry when they saw Su Wenyu being so arrogant. Among them were Zhang Chunlin's brother and sister-in-law, although they usually didn't really treat Zhang Chunlin that way. But Zhang Chunlin is a member of the Zhang family after all, and protecting one's shortcomings is a mentality that most people have. Su Wenyu is slapping the Zhang family in the face, how can they not be angry? Xiao 11 didn't expect her young lady to be so powerful. She originally wanted to refute the Zhang family's mention of Zhang Chunlin, but the young lady actually mentioned it herself, and said that the Zhang family was so shameless. She felt even more admired, but the young lady, this was a serious offense to the Zhang family. In order to prevent the Zhang family from suddenly taking action, Xiao 11 protected Su Wenyu even more tightly. Su Wenyu, don't bully me too much. How can I, a mother, not understand Chunlin's temperament? I'm not the kind of person you mentioned. You must have set a trap for my Chunlin to take advantage of. Don't think you can do it with just a few words shirking your responsibilities. Since we can come to your door today, don't think about sending us away with just a few words. Oh? What do you want? Su Wenyu raised her eyebrows. For the sake of our relatives, I won't care about the things you did. As long as you go to the county magistrate and ask him to release Chunlin and pay us 50 taels of silver, the matter will be over. Forget it, we can forget about it, otherwise our Zhang family would not be so easy to bully, Yang Juxiang said with her head held high, as if this would be a bit advantageous to Su Wenyu. Su Wenyu was not surprised at all. She knew that the Zhang family had put up such a big battle and had to leave their farm work and come all the way here. Naturally, they would not just come here just for Zhang Chunlin, but would take the opportunity to ask for benefits. 50 taels of silver, appetite, it's not that small. Even the rich families in the village may not be able to earn 5 taels of silver a year. Xiao 11 was angered by the Zhang family's shamelessness. It was Zhang Chunlin who had done something wrong, but the Zhang family dared to ask for benefits. She had never seen such a shameless person. 50 taels of silver, you know how much it is, yet you dare to open your mouth like this. I don't think you have seen so much silver in your life, Xiao 11 snorted coldly. Yang Juxiang just thought that Su Wenyu was a young lady from the Su family. If she was rich, she couldn't ask for less. After all, a young lady from a wealthy family wouldn't care about this little money, so she casually settled on 50 taels, even if Su Wenyu disagreed. After a lot of haggling, she managed to get 30 taels of silver. Xiao 11 felt a little guilty after hearing this, but she couldn't show weakness. You little hooves, your master hasn't spoken yet, it's your turn to act wild. What happened to the 50 taels of silver? One of my beautiful daughters was sent to the county government by you. She has been ruined by you all her life. Is it possible? It's not worth the 50 taels of silver. Of course it's not worth it. Buying a better maid is only more than 10 taels of silver. A country girl like your daughter is not pretty and not smart. She can only be sold for 7 or 8 taels of silver at most. Even if you sell your whole family, she may not be worth so much money. You really think you are worthless? Xioxi's mouth is so infuriating. You, what are you talking about? You little girl, you dare to be so arrogant in front of so many of us. Mother, let's not talk nonsense with them. Let's beat them up first and make them behave themselves. The eldest brother of the Zhang family is a fool with a bad temper. He has been a little impatient after listening to it, and he wants to solve the problem with his fists. The Zhang family was ridiculed and squeezed by Su Wenyu and her servants. Everyone looked indignant. After hearing what the eldest brother of the Zhang family said, they all felt that it made sense. Everyone was eager to try. Facing two unarmed weak women, even the daughter-in-law of the Zhang family could beat them up. Seeing that they were about to fight, Zioxi protected Su Wenyu and felt that the Zhang family was shameless. At this time, Han Hu and Han Quan heard the news that the Zhang family was coming to make trouble and rushed back from the fields. They saw a large group of Zhang family members gathered at the door of the fourth brother's house. Rebirth of a Farming Wife. Author, TNNI. Chapter 135. What are you doing? The fourth child is not at home. You are not ashamed to have so many people bullying two defenseless women. Han Hu was furious when he saw so many people bullying his brother and his wife. This member of the Zhang family people are getting more and more excessive. Because of Zhang Chunlin's actions some time ago, even though Han Hu didn't express anything in front of the Yang family, he was very dissatisfied in his heart. Now seeing the actions of the Zhang family, even more dissatisfied. When Han Quan saw Han Hu's words, he didn't say anything, but quickly stood in front of Su Wenyu and Xiao 11, with an obvious intention to protect them. Xiao 11 was relieved to see Han Hu and Han Quan arriving, with a bit of joy on her face. She was originally worried that she wouldn't be able to protect the young lady when she was fighting with the Zhang family, but now that Han Hu and Han Quan are helping, she doesn't have to. Worried, Xiao 11 can deal with the rabble-like Zhang family without Han Hu and Han Quan taking action. Being trained by the Su family brothers since childhood, Xiao 11's kung fu is not in vain. Eldest brother, second brother seeing Han Hu and Han Quan rushing to protect each other, Su Wenyu didn't show anything on her face, but her heart felt a little more grateful and warm. Fourth brother and sister, don't worry, you have done nothing wrong. No one can bully our old Han family, Han Hu said this firmly. The faces of the Zhang family were very ugly. The matter was almost over. As long as Su Wenyu was forced to agree and get the money, but two brothers, Han Hu and Han Quan, come out to disrupt the situation. Han Hu and Han Quan are both burly figures, and their strength has been gained from working in the fields all year round. The Zhang family had just been aggressive towards the two weak women, Su Wenyu and his servant, but now they were facing Han Hu and Han Quan. The two brothers were very afraid. Even the boss of the Zhang family did not speak rashly. They were really bullying the weak and fearing the strong. I said, Brother Tiger, Brother Quan, what are you doing? This is between us and Brother Yu's daughter-in-law. It's none of your brother's business, so just leave it alone, Yang Juxiang said as an elder. Han Yu didn't pay Yang Juxiang's account, and the fourth child was not at home. How could he let others bully his brother and his wife? Auntie is wrong. The fourth child is my brother. He is out. As brothers, we should take care of the house for him. Besides, you brought so many people from the Zhang family to the door. How can I ignore it? Just leave it alone. Ordinary people would probably not understand how many of you bullied two weak women. What a weak woman! Su Wenyu, a vicious woman, has caused your cousin to become like this. Are we not allowed to seek justice? Brother Hu, I think you are not unreasonable. Don't interfere in this matter. Hello, Yang Juxiang. After saying a few words in a good voice, he became a little impatient. I know what happened to cousin Chunlin. It's not the fourth daughter-in-law's fault. If you want to blame me, and, you can't blame the fourth daughter-in-law Han who did not give in. Okay, let's work with you Han family members to bully people. I want to see if you really dare to attack me, an elder Yang Juxiang said and scratched Han Hu, recognizing that she was the elder. Han Hu didn't dare to attack her, otherwise she would be disrespectful to her elders, and the two Hanhu brothers would definitely not be able to please her. Brother, second brother, get out of the way. Don't interfere in this matter. Just watch from the sidelines. Su Wenyu suddenly spoke at this time. Fourth brother and sister, you are a weak woman, and the fourth brother is not at home. As brothers, we will not watch you being bullied. Hanhu thought that Su Wenyu did not want him to be embarrassed by Yang Juxiang. In my heart, I have a better impression of Su Wenyu, the younger brother and sister. The fourth younger brother and sister are not only capable but also kind. The fourth younger brother is really blessed. Brother, don't worry. Although I am a weak woman, I am not easy to bully. Since my aunt said that this is the grudge between our fourth room and the Zhang family, then it is up to me to resolve it. If you are worried about me, please stay aside. Just look at it. Okay. Hanhu saw that Su Wenyu insisted and clearly meant that he could handle Yang Juxiang on his own, so he didn't insist anymore. It really didn't look good for him, a grown man, to be embarrassed by Yang Juxiang like this. Yang Juxiang saw a flash of success in her eyes when Hanhu and Han Quan brothers stepped aside. Despite what Su Wenyu said, as long as Hanhu and Han Quan brothers didn't interfere, she still didn't believe that they couldn't deal with two weak women, Su Wenyu's master and servant. Su Wenyu, how about it? Do you agree to the conditions we offer? If you don't agree, don't blame me for being rude. Really? I want to see how rude you are. Su Wenyu was not threatened by Yang Juxiang at all. Seeing this, the Zhang family members were signaled by Yang Juxiang to come towards Su Wenyu. They obviously had bad intentions. Hanhu and Han Quan had previously. After agreeing, it was hard to stand up again, but there was a somewhat anxious look on his face, and Xiao 11 still stood in front of Su Wenyu. Xiao 11, get out of the way and let them come over, Su Wenyu said to Xiao 11. Miss, Xiao 11 rarely obeyed Su Wenyu's instructions. She didn't know why her own lady gave such an order. Xiao 11's face was full of worry and confusion. Xiao 11, get out of the way, Su Wenyu ordered coldly, with no doubt in her voice. No matter how worried Xiao 11 was, she had no choice but to get out of the way. Not only was Xiao 11 puzzled by Su Wenyu's actions, but everyone in the Zhang family also didn't understand what Su Wenyu meant, especially Yang Juxiang, who was even more suspicious because of Su Wenyu's power and cunning. Come on, I want to see who dares to touch me. If I can send Zhang Chunlin to the county jail, I can also send all of you there on the charge of breaking into a house and wounding someone. Who dares to touch me? Try it with one finger. The county government has plenty of cells, so we don't care how many more prisoners there are. When Su Wenyu said this, the people of the Zhang family were shocked. They looked at Su Wenyu with some fear, thinking of Zhang Chunlin, who was still locked up in the jail of the county government office and could not come out. They tried to use money but could not even see her face. What if they were locked up? What kind of place is the jail of the county government office? There are many ways to torture people. Once they get there, they don't treat people as human beings at all. They once saw a thief coming out of the jail. He was a thief from the neighboring village. He was arrested for committing a crime and was locked up for several years before he came out. He looked completely different from before he went in. He looked several times older and skinny. There were scars on his face that had not healed completely, which showed how badly he was tortured. Su Wenyu, don't scare me. I won't fall for your tricks. Who do you think you are? You said you would send us to the county government office and you sent us there. Yang Juxiang felt a little embarrassed when the people she brought with her did this. She said it with all her might, but she was also afraid of Su Wenyu's words in her heart. Are you trying to scare me? Feel free to try. I won't stop you. Su Wenyu smiled. She didn't do anything, but the Zhang family felt a chill on their backs. They looked at each other and didn't dare to make any more moves, for fear that Su Wenyu would catch them and send them to the county jail. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of a Farming Wife. Author, TNNI. Chapter 136. Hanhu and Han Quan admired Su Wenyu for shocking the Zhang family so easily, but they also saw how powerful Su Wenyu was. The fourth brother's wife looked gentle and kind, but her methods were amazing. The Zhang family made a scene, but did not get any benefit from Su Wenyu. Although they were unwilling, they had no choice. With Zhang Chunlin as an example, no one dared to do anything to Su Wenyu. Zhang Chunlin had gone against Su Wenyu and ended up like this. Yang Juxiang saw that there was no way to make progress with Su Wenyu, so she had to settle for the next best thing and found Yang Gaixiang again. Naturally, she could not use a tough approach this time, so she started to cry to her elder sister Yang Gaixiang. This was also what Yang Juxiang was good at and she often used it before. Yang Gaixiang felt guilty towards her younger sister because of this. No matter what Zhang Chunlin did wrong, it was always caused by the Han family. Yang Juxiang's attitude was too aggressive before, and Yang Gaixiang was angry. Now that Yang Juxiang started crying, Yang Gaixiang softened her heart, but she had no choice. Zhang Chunlin had been locked up in the county jail. She was powerless even if she wanted to do anything. She didn't have the ability to ask the county magistrate to release her. The Zhang family was so far away from Xinhe village that it was impossible for the Zhang family to go back immediately after they came. Moreover, they had eaten some porridge before dawn and rushed here. It was already noon, and everyone was hungry. Yang Gaixiang thought about it and asked Lu to prepare a meal. Although it was not very rich, it could at least fill her stomach. Lu was quite dissatisfied with her mother-in-law's behavior. Why did she let her family provide food to entertain the Zhang family? She didn't like Zhang Chunlin to begin with, and now she didn't like the Zhang family who wasted their food. She kept showing this cold face throughout the meal. Originally, Yang Juxiang brought so many people here to threaten Su Wenyu with the power of numbers. Now that this method obviously doesn't work, there is no need to keep so many people. Someone has to watch the house and someone has to do the work in the fields. Yang Juxiang took a few little grandsons who couldn't work and lived in Han's house. The idea was just to eat and drink for free in Han's house to save some food for the family. Lu Shi could see Yang Juxiang's idea. Before, Yang Juxiang and her daughter had been eating and drinking for free in Han's house for so many days. Her face was quite bad. After all, she couldn't go against her husband and mother-in-law's wishes. She just held the food in her hands tightly. The daily meals were worse than before, and the dishes were either very salty or very bland, which made Yang Juxiang frown. Su Wenyu was sitting outside in the sun after eating and sleeping well that day, and saw the two girls in the big room chewing on a handful of silk hair roots. The little girl Ernia was chewing while holding her belly. Sister, Imogen doesn't care about being full at all, I'm still so hungry. The second girl Han Xiahua looked pitiful. Han Xiaofeng felt sorry for his sister but couldn't do anything. He touched her hair to comfort her. Before the family was separated, Su Wenyu saw that the children didn't eat well, so she often gave them some snacks and cakes. Now that the family is separated, they spend less time together. Su Wenyu is sleepy most of the time when she is pregnant, so she rarely pays attention to the children. Especially now that Yang Juxiang lives in the big house with the children, Lu is unbalanced and deliberately makes harsh food. Because Yang Juxiang is watching closely, it is not easy to make food for her children alone, which makes the two children suffer. Auntie, the first and second girls saw Su Wenyu coming over and shouted happily without the frustration on their faces. Maybe Su Wenyu is beautiful and gentle, and the children like Su Wenyu very much. Big girl and second girl, why are you squatting here? Are you eating silk hair roots? Su Wenyu looked at the two children with a smile. She liked children in the first place, and now that she was pregnant, she loved and cared for them even more. And, several cousins from my aunt's family occupied my sister and my room. We have nowhere to go. We don't have enough food and we are so hungry. Han Xiahua was young and not so sensible. When she heard Su Wenayu's question, she started to complain. Then why don't you go to Aunt's place to play? There are delicious food at Aunt's house, Su Wenayu said, and took the big girl and second girl back to her room. She first took 2 cakes to fill their stomachs, and asked Xioxi to make a bowl of noodles for each of them. She let them go after they were full, and also grabbed 2 handfuls of candy and put them in their pockets. The eldest and second daughter left happily. Lu had already seen her 2 daughters follow the 4th daughter-in-law into the house. The 4th daughter-in-law was always nice to the children and often gave them food. She also saw Xioxi light a fire and cook something in the simple small kitchen she built and sent it in. She could smell the fragrance from afar. She was very grateful to Su Wenayu. Mothers love their children. Su Wenayu's actions made her more grateful than the small favors she usually gave her. Miss, you are kind-hearted. You are so good to the children. I'm afraid the first house will have a hard time these days. Aunt Yang is not a good old woman. She also brought a few half-grown boys with her. I'm afraid they bullied the eldest and second daughters. They are my nieces after all, Su Wenayu smiled and said. Fortunately, the Han family was divided, and these things had nothing to do with her. Su Wenayu and Xioxi were chatting intermittently, and soon they heard a girl crying outside. It sounded like Erniu's voice. Su Wenayu and Xioxi hurried out and saw Yang Juxiang's grandchildren surrounding the 2 sisters, De Niu and Erniu, and the children were pulling each other. What are you doing? This is the candy given to us by Aunt. Don't snatch it. Don't snatch it. The eldest girl protected the second girl, while the second girl protected the candy in her pocket and said while crying. It turned out to be Yang Juxiang's couple. A grandson got greedy when he saw the elder girl and the second girl eating candies there, and wanted to snatch their candies. The upbringing of these children is serious. Xiao 11 already hated the people of the Zhang family, and these children were at an age where cats hate dogs. Seeing them, a few half-year-old boys, ganged up to bully the 2. The older girl and the second girl were younger than them. Xiao 11 walked over and unceremoniously pushed away the boys who were pulling the older girl and the second girl away. Su Wenayu was afraid of hitting the child in her belly, so she just stood not far away and did not care. Nearby. You brats have rebelled. You dare to bully my daughter. Mrs. Lu came out when she heard the commotion. When she saw someone bullying her daughter, she rushed over without saying a word. The brats were a little afraid of Ms. Lu. They broke up and ran away. Because they were too panicked and ran too fast, one of the boys didn't see clearly and bumped into Su Wenayu. Su Wenayu was at a distance, but she didn't expect this kid to rush over suddenly. She couldn't avoid it but fell to the ground while protecting her stomach. Xiao 11's face changed with fear when she saw this. Rebirth of a Farming Wife. Author, TNNI. Chapter 137. Miss, are you okay? Xiao 11 hurriedly ran over, wanting to help Su Wenayu up but was afraid that moving too much would make Su Wenayu's condition more serious, so she was at a loss for a moment. Xiao 11, I have a little pain in my stomach. I'm afraid I may have some fetal motility. Please carry me back to the room and move as gently as possible. Seeing 11er panicking, Su Wenayu tried her best to calm herself down and told Xiao 11 what to do. In her heart, she was also very worried, fearing that something would happen to the child in her belly. This was the child she had been waiting for a long time, but Han Yu was not around at this time. She had to do her best to keep the child, and there was no room for any weakness. Emotions. Mrs. Lu was also helping at this time, and called out her mother-in-law and Mrs. Li. She just thought that the 4th daughter-in-law was hit by a child, but she was just a half-year-old child. How strong could the fourth daughter-in-law be? Being so delicate, she would probably scratch her hands a little bit, but when she saw Xiao 11's expression and behavior, especially the fourth daughter-in-law sitting on the ground with a pale face, she felt that something was not quite right. Stomachache, fetal force, Mrs. Lu was stunned when she heard these words. What did the fourth daughter-in-law mean? Could it be that she is pregnant? A woman's body becomes more delicate when she is pregnant with a child. How can she withstand such a collision? This is really a big deal, especially the fourth daughter-in-law is doing this for her daughter. Ms. Lu felt guilty and worried for Su Wenyu, and followed Xiao 11 to see what could happen. Wherever I can help. Fourth wife, are you pregnant? How do you feel now? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? Mrs. Lu threw several questions at her like cannonballs, but Su Wenyu had no energy to answer. With the help of Xiao 11, she slowly lay down on the bed. She finally felt a little more comfortable. Her stomach seemed to be better, but it was still a little faint. Pain. My young lady is pregnant right now and needs a good rest. I'm afraid she won't have the energy to talk to you. Don't be offended if there is anything inconsiderate. Xiao 11 answered Liu's words for her young lady. Mrs. Lu confirmed the news of Su Wenyu's pregnancy from Zioxi, so why would she care about this with Su Wenyu? It's okay. My fourth daughter-in-law is not feeling well. How can I care about this with her? It's just that if she is like this, should I ask a doctor to see her? After all, having a child in your belly is extra delicate. I'm going to invite you. I'll go right away. I also want to ask my sister-in-law to help take care of my young lady. There was no one else at home, so Xiao 11 had no choice but to entrust Su Wenyu to Mrs. Lu. At this time, Mrs. Yang and Mrs. Li came over and listened. It was said that Su Wenyu was pregnant and was knocked down by Yang Juxiang's grandson. They were all very anxious. How great is this? I finally got pregnant, but why did this happen again? These boys are so noisy and they really need to be disciplined. I don't know how adults teach them. This was the first time that Mrs. Yang felt resentful towards Yang Juxiang. Even before, she was just disappointed with this old girl. But this time it was different. She had just found her grandson, whom she had been looking forward to for so long, and she heard this before she could be happy. According to the news, the first 3 months of pregnancy are the most delicate. The fourth daughter-in-law's body bones are naturally a bit weak, and she doesn't know whether she can save the baby. It was too time-consuming to go to the county to ask for a doctor. Xiao 11 was afraid of being delayed, so she had to ask a doctor in the village to diagnose and treat Su Wenyu. Doctor, how is my daughter-in-law? Can the baby in her belly be saved? Ms. Yang asked impatiently after the doctor finished checking her pulse. What she was most concerned about was the baby in Su Wenyu's belly. Brother Yu's daughter-in-law was hit and frightened, which is why she moved her fetus. Fortunately, the child was well raised. At that time, Brother Yu's daughter-in-law was protecting her belly, so it was nothing serious. I prescribed 2 abortion measures. It's a recipe, just take care of it for a few days. After hearing what the doctor said, Ms. Yang felt relieved. The child was fine. Ms. Lu was worried just now, but now she is a little envious. She didn't expect that the fourth daughter-in-law would get pregnant so soon. She thought she was only 2 years old after getting married. The next child, even the one from the second oldest's family, was born a year later, let alone the one from the third oldest's family. They were really lucky. After sending away the doctor in the village, Xiao 11 was still worried and entrusted Li to take care of Su Wenyu. She went to the city to hire a doctor and heard the doctor's words, which made her feel relieved. Knowing that something like this had happened to Su Wenyu, Yang Juxiang first gloated, thinking that it would be great if Su Wenyu's child was really lost. This woman is so arrogant, and there will always be retribution. However, the cause of this incident was because of her grandson. Fearing that Hanyu and Su Wenyu would come back to trouble her, Yang Juxiang refused to stay. She even forgot about Zhang Chunlin and hurried back with her grandchildren. But it was said that Hanyu was squatting deep in the forest at this time. He went in and out of the forest all year round. He could probably detect where there were big insects. He used to avoid these places, but this time he found this place specifically and set up a trap in advance, waiting for the big insect to come. With such a thorough arrangement, even if he couldn't catch the big insect with the trap, at least it would be able to inflict heavy damage on the big insect. He would be more sure of catching the big insect. Finally, after 2 days of squatting, the big bug appeared, and as expected, the big bug walked into the trap they set. Everything was going smoothly, but they underestimated the ability of the king of the forest. Even if they fell into the trap, they still escaped with bloodstains. The next step was to see how strong they were. Hanyu and Chen Shuang worked together to fight the big insect for more than half an hour before finally killing it. The two of them were tired and angry. They lay panting on the ground, looking at each other and smiling, both with smiles of joy and gain. After just a short rest, Hanyu and Chen Shuang got up, packed up their prey and prepared to go home. They also cleaned themselves up, fearing that the bloody smell on their bodies would attract wild animals. However, they were lucky and killed 2 adult elks and other small prey on the way back. This trip was really a lot of harvest. The weather was a bit hot now. The two of them carried the prey back to the city first, lest they could not sell it at a good price because of the smell. Hanyu and Chen Shuang were old hunters, so they naturally knew where to sell the prey to get a good price. Ordinary prey might be hard to sell, but it was different for the big insect. People were willing to buy it at a high price, but they were afraid that they could not buy it. After all, most people did not have the courage to hunt big insects. All these prey were sold for more than 400 taels of silver, and each person could get more than 200 taels of silver. Hanyu gave the silver to Chen Shuang, but Chen Shuang was not willing to accept so much. He was not as good at hunting as Hanyu, and most of the traps for dealing with big insects were made by Hanyu. He was just helping out, and it was only after Hanyu insisted that Chen Shuang accepted the money. Rebirth of a Farming Wife. Author, TNNI. Chapter 138. Hanyu returned home with silver in his pocket, and there were a few things he bought for his wife. The Han family was not that wealthy, and even if he made money from hunting, most of it was used for household expenses. He didn't have much money on him, and he hadn't bought anything for his wife since she married him. Naturally, he was not stingy with the silver he earned this time, and he spent more than 20 taels of silver. Although it was a bit too much, Hanyu felt it was worth it when he thought about how happy his wife was when she received the gift. Hanyu was dirty. He had been squatting in the mountains for a few days. His image was not very good, but his steps were very relaxed. This trip had gained more than expected. When the time came, his wife would be able to live a good life with him. When he got home, Hanyu smelled a smell of medicine before he even entered the door. It was not from the kitchen at home, but from the small kitchen built temporarily by Zioxy. Hanyu's originally gentle expression on his face turned cold. He thought that his wife encountered robbers on the road last time. He was not at home for a few days this time. He didn't want his wife to have any trouble again. Especially when he saw that he had made a lot of noise when he came back, his wife had not appeared yet. If it had been before, she would have run out to greet him. His heart sank even more. Hanyu didn't care about his dirty body. He walked into the room quickly and saw his wife lying on the bed as if she was asleep. When he got closer, he could see that her face was a little pale. It seemed that something really happened, otherwise his wife would not be sleeping in the bed in broad daylight, and her face was not good. Hanyu wanted to know something, but Su Wenyu was asleep, so it was not easy to ask. Zioxi didn't know where she went, and Han Yu's face became colder and harder. Son-in-law, you're back. Zioxi came in with a medicine bowl, and she was happy to see Han Yu back. It's good that son-in-law is back. Although the young lady didn't have any serious problems this time, she still looked unhappy. As a maid, she couldn't be more considerate than the male owner, and son-in-law was the backbone of their family. With the backbone back, the young lady's heart was settled. Zioxi, where have you been? If Han Yu didn't know that Zioxi was a loyal maid, and definitely not a sneaky one, Han Yu wouldn't ask in such a good tone. Son-in-law, the eggs at home are almost gone, and I went to the village to buy some more, and also bought 2 chickens. The young lady is pregnant, and it's time to replenish her body. I have to make more delicious food for the young lady. Zioxi's mind is now full of how to take care of her young lady's body and give birth to a fat and white young master. Well, Yu Niang is not in good health, so give her more tonic. Han Yu nodded, thinking that Zioxi was quite considerate and knew how to take care of the master. After saying that, he felt something was wrong. Zioxi, you mean Yu Niang is pregnant? Zioxi said it too naturally, and she said it in her words. Han Yu took a while to react, because this matter was too sudden. In addition to surprise, he looked a little silly. Speaking of her young lady's pregnancy, Zioxi also smiled. Yes, son-in-law, the young lady is pregnant. It has been more than a month, and it was just diagnosed. Zioxi knew that her young lady was hiding something from her son-in-law, so she didn't forget to add a sentence at this time to help her young lady cover up, but Zioxi forgot how shrewd her son-in-law was. How could he be fooled by other people in the Han family? It would be better if she didn't add this sentence. Adding it would make it more obvious. Han Yu thought about the secrets between the master and servant, and most likely this was it. He originally thought that his wife was sick, and was very worried at the time. It turned out that it was a reaction to pregnancy. Han Yu could not think of it before, but now that the questions were answered, he figured it all out. Han Yu asked Zioxi about what happened during his days in the mountains. After hearing Zioxi's narration, Han Yu's joy faded a little. Pregnancy was such a big deal, but his wife actually hid it from her, and would rather make him worry than tell her. If he knew that his wife was pregnant, he would not be so anxious to go to the mountains, and he had to arrange the family more properly. Fortunately, he was lucky this time, otherwise if something happened to the child in his wife's belly, he would have a knot in his heart for the rest of his life, and his wife herself would definitely not feel good. As for the Zhang family, Han Yu's face turned cold when he thought of this family. Previously, Yang Juxiang and her daughter always made things difficult for his wife, and Zhang Chunlin did such a thing. Now the boy from the Zhang family almost caused his wife to have a miscarriage, but that was just a half-grown boy, and it was not intentional. Even if Han Yu was angry, he couldn't go to the door for this matter. However, Zhang Chunlin stayed in prison for a few more days. He originally planned to let Zhang Chunlin suffer in prison and then get her out, so as not to make his mother feel bad. Now it seems that there is no need. In fact, even if Su Wenyu didn't say it, Han Yu could probably guess the reason. He was angry that his wife didn't believe him, and he was angry that she didn't know the seriousness of the matter. And Zioxi was also an accomplice. She was really a loyal girl. She listened to her daughter-in-law in everything, and his words as a son-in-law were not so effective. Zioxi was already feeling uneasy, and Han Yu glared at her fiercely, which made her scalp tingle. Her son-in-law was so smart that he must have guessed it. She was not worried about being punished, but the young lady was in real trouble. The young lady used to be fearless, and only the master in the family could control her a little. Now that she has married into the Han family, the son-in-law is the young lady's nemesis. The young lady, who was so arrogant before, was actually subdued by the son-in-law. However, Zioxi never dared to say these words out loud. Su Wenyu opened her eyes when she woke up and saw Hanyu looking at her deeply. She didn't know what he was thinking. It was different from the doting look he usually gave her. His eyes looked deep and helpless, and there were some things she couldn't understand, which made her feel uneasy. "Husband, you're back." No matter what Su Wenyu thought in her heart, she showed a sweet smile on her face and tried to get up with her hands. She couldn't stand Hanyu looking at her like this. "Slow down, why are you getting up so quickly? You're pregnant. How can you be a mother? You're really a worry." Hanyu saw that Su Wenyu's movements were a bit big, so he quickly helped her up and scolded her. "Husband, you know I'm pregnant, are you happy?" Su Wenyu asked with a smile, not asking how Hanyu knew it. It must have been Zioxi who told him. Besides, after being hit this time, everyone in the Han family knew about her pregnancy, so it was not surprising that Hanyu knew about it. She wanted to tell Hanyu the good news in person, but she didn't expect such an accident to happen. Hanyu didn't say anything after hearing what Su Wenyu said, and stared at Su Wenyu with that look, which made Su Wenyu feel uneasy. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of a Farming Wife. Author, TNNI. Chapter 139. MS Sir, why don't you speak? What are you doing when you look at me like this? It makes me panic, Su Wenyu said with a strong smile, her voice getting lower and lower the more she spoke. Don't you have anything to say to me? Hanyu is a generous man, and he usually indulges and dotes on his wife. However, there are some serious problems and habits that must not be tolerated. This problem of deceiving and lying must not be tolerated. Have. MS Sir, what do you want me to say? Su Wenyu said weakly. Hanyu's expression and tone clearly said, I'll give you a chance to confess. I'll be lenient if you confess, but you won't be lenient. But she was still taking a chance. She and Xiao 11 were the only two people who knew about the secret pregnancy, and Xiao 11 would never betray her. Hanyu was such a cunning person. He had often put on such a posture to deliberately deceive her. Su Wenyu felt that she should calm down and not be influenced by Hanyu. Hearing that his wife had no intention of confessing at all, and was playing petty tricks with him, Hanyu felt that there was some evil fire in his heart. If Su Wenyu hadn't been pregnant right now and couldn't move, he would have pinned her down on the bed and tidied her up. After a while, she couldn't get out of bed for a few days. As expected, women shouldn't be too spoiled and should be tight-lipped when necessary. It seems that my wife, you don't want to talk to me properly, and you are playing tricks on me. Do you think you can hide your IQ from me, huh? Hanyu thought about the fact that his wife's pregnancy had already been predicted. The last time he went to his wife's house, he asked Dr. Lin to diagnose his wife's pulse. He must have diagnosed it by then. At that time, he and his father-in-law and brother-in-law were talking about things in the study. Only his wife and mother-in-law were present. He must have diagnosed her pulse at that time. It was the daughter-in-law who said something that convinced her mother-in-law to help her hide it. It was just for those few reasons, otherwise the mother-in-law would definitely not be willing to help her daughter-in-law hide it. At this time, Hanyu had already pulled Su Wenyu onto him and sat on him. The top-down posture added a sense of oppression. Su Wenyu's little heart couldn't bear it. Was this a forced confession or not? When did you know about the pregnancy? That girl Zioxi was so sneaky, she must have had a hard time hiding it from me. If you don't behave honestly, I think you don't have to go with me this time, and you will still be safe and sound. You have to stay at home and raise the child, otherwise I won't be able to take you with me. Hanyu knew that his wife was going to be tough, so he directly used his trump card. When Su Wenyu and Hanyu said this, she knew that she had exposed her secret. When she heard Hanyu say that he would not take her to the town, it was okay. She almost jumped up in a hurry, but now that she was in Han Yu's arms, she could not move. "No, you have to take me with you, or I won't give you a son," Su Wenyu said this naturally to threaten Han Yu. She wanted to protect the child she had longed for so much, and she would risk her life to protect it. Han Yu, who was familiar with Su Wenyu, looked even worse after hearing Su Wenyu's words. Seeing Han Yu's more serious look, Su Wenyu knew that she had said something wrong, and now she was in trouble. She wanted to say something to make up for it, but she heard Han Yu say, "It seems that I really don't have any weight in my wife's heart, and my children don't have any weight either. Otherwise, how could you say such a thing so easily?" "Ms. Sir, I was just quick talking. I really didn't mean it. I kept it secret before because I was worried that you wouldn't trust me because I wouldn't separate. I planned to tell you when you came back from hunting. Who would have thought that this happened before I could do it? My husband, please don't be angry. I will never hide anything from you in the future. I will tell you everything." Su Wenyu said this very sincerely, trying to impress Han Yu, but unfortunately Han Yu was not so easy to persuade. Han Yu originally just wanted to teach his wife a lesson, so that she would no longer hide things from him in the future, but after hearing what his wife said, he was really angry and a little frustrated. He is a cold-tempered person. Before marrying his wife, he was also quite cold towards his parents. He only wanted to do something in his career and get ahead. Since he got a wife, his heart has gradually been warmed by her, knowing that she will follow her. After he was wronged, he redoubled his efforts. He just wanted his wife to live a good life, and he treated her with the utmost sincerity and attitude. He really regarded her as a treasure in his heart, but her daughter-in-law did not completely believe her. Han Yu felt a little uncomfortable thinking about it. "Can I believe what you say? I never said that when I did something wrong. Unfortunately, although I have a good attitude of admitting my mistake, I still do what I shouldn't do next time. You just don't believe me as a husband. Do you really care about this family?" Han Yu said this a bit seriously. Su Wenyu heard that Han Yu had misunderstood something. If he didn't explain it clearly, he was afraid that there would always be knots in his heart and affect the relationship between the two people. "My husband, no matter what happened in the past, since I married you, I have made up my mind to live my life wholeheartedly. I am really sad and unjust for you to say this. I was wrong to hide this matter from you, but I don't believe you. I really can't adapt to a life like this. We are obviously a family, but we still have to scheming and quarreling over small interests. You didn't tell me your thoughts before. I didn't know you would take me with you. I was afraid that you would know that I was pregnant and you would think that I would not be able to take care of myself and change my mind about separation, so I wanted to hide it first. I would have told you the good news of my pregnancy before this incident happened." Han Yu felt a little better after hearing Su Wenyu's explanation. "So it's my fault. Of course, you can hide everything from me. Why can't I? You still accuse me so wrongly. I already have your child in my belly. How can I not live with you sincerely and not care about where our family will go?" Su Wenyu said, and felt that she was justified. "I was wrong about this, and I apologize. This time we each have our faults, and they cancel each other out. From now on, no one can hide anything from the other. Do you agree?" Han Yu touched his wife's hair. "It seems that it will be the same in the future. If you talk to your wife more often, you won't have misunderstandings like this. Isn't it okay to promise you? Let you say this about me." "Say about me?" Seeing that Han Yu was no longer angry, Su Wenyu became arrogant again, and she still had a child in her belly, so she couldn't let Han Yu take good care of her. Su Wenyu asked about Han Yu's hunting in the mountains again. Han Yu was afraid of scaring Su Wenyu. Anyway, everything had been done, so there was no need to let his wife worry again. Besides, she was still pregnant with a child, so her mood swings should not be too great. Therefore, Su Wenyu did not tell Su Wenyu about hunting big insects to sell. Su Wenyu only knew that Hanyu had a good harvest on this hunting trip. Hanyu brought her a set of silver jewelry. Although it was not very exquisite, it was novel and elegant in style. Very suitable for her to carry now. Hanyu was very happy to see that his wife liked what he had chosen so much, and he personally helped Su Wenyu try it out. Rebirth of a Farming Wife. Author, Tian. Chapter 140. The days passed quickly, and in a blink of an eye, it was the day when Hanyu was leaving. Because Su Wenyu was pregnant with a child, Hanyu originally wanted to let Su Wenyu wait until the child in her belly was 3 months old before following him, but Su Wenyu did not want to continue to stay in the Han family. If he insists on following him now, Hanyu has nothing to do with Su Wenyu. The town he wants to go to is not too far from here, but he can get there in half a day. Let the doctor check his pulse to make sure that Su Wenyu's body can't bear it. So Hanyu packed up Su Wenyu's master and servant and took them away. Hanyu only told Old Man Han and Mr. Yang about this before setting off. Old Man Han didn't have any objections as long as Su Wenyu was sure that her body could bear it, but Mr. Yang had a lot of opinions and just didn't agree. I didn't think so before, but now it seems that the fourth daughter-in-law is really not a peaceful person. She is still pregnant with a child. Why is she running around with men? Men are going to do big things, so wouldn't it be a mess if a woman follows her? However, Mr. Han also understood Su Wenyu's temperament of being soft rather than tough, so he couldn't speak too harshly. Fourth daughter-in-law, listen to me, the child in your belly is only a month old. The first 3 months are the most important. There can be no mistakes. Besides, the fourth daughter is doing important things, not playing. If you go with me, I will have to take care of you. You are still a child now. You have to think about your man and your children and not be willful. Su Wenyu was really upset when she saw her mother-in-law repeatedly blocking her, but with her mother-in-law in front of her, Su Wenyu tried her best to be calm and reasonable. Don't worry, mother, the doctor has checked my pulse. The baby in my belly is fine. Besides, it's not too far away. It's only half a day's journey by carriage, so there won't be any problem. I'm just pregnant, and it's not that I'm disabled, I can take care of myself, and I don't need my husband to take care of me. Besides, I still have Xiao 11 with me. I can just tell Xiao 11 to do whatever I want. I won't be tired. Fourth daughter-in-law, why are you so stubborn? Xiao 11 is just an unmarried girl. Even if she is capable of many things and has never experienced it, your mother can still take care of you at home and ensure that you have a fat and healthy boy. Look at the men from other families going out to do things, and you don't see their wives following them. You should be more sensible. Yang's words already contained a hint of warning. If the fourth family's natal family background hadn't been so powerful, she wouldn't have been able to do anything about it. Siyu was so protective that she became less polite when speaking. Su Wenyu pretended not to understand the hidden meanings of her mother-in-law's words. Anyway, as long as Hanyu didn't change his mind, no one could stop her. Don't worry, mother-in-law. My mother has already sent word that she will send a nanny who knows how to raise children to take care of me. You really don't have to worry. Besides, we have separated. How can I ask my mother-in-law to take care of my son, daughter-in-law's principles? Seeing that Su Wenyu couldn't be explained, Yang became even more disinclined to see Su Wenyu. The anger in her heart could hardly be controlled, and the smile that managed to appear on her face was a little stiff. Hanyu sighed. Sure enough, mother-in-law and daughter-in-law are natural enemies. Her daughter-in-law is so virtuous and kind, and she can't deal with his mother. In the past, Hanyu even admired how well they got along with each other. He could tell when something happened. Mom, don't worry about this. It's my intention to let Yueniang follow Han Yu didn't want his wife to be embarrassed by his mother, so he stood up and took the responsibility on himself. Fourth brother, don't blindly protect your wife. Let her do everything as she pleases. Your wife is still young and has a bit of a temper. How can she take good care of my sweet grandson? I can't rest assured if she's not around to take care of her. No mother-in-law wants to see her son siding with her daughter-in-law. When Ms. Yang heard Han Yu speak in favor of Su Wenyu, she felt even more unbalanced. Mom, didn't Yueniang say that my mother-in-law sent a nanny who knows how to have children to take care of her? You don't have to worry about that. Besides, I really need Yueniang to come with me and help me. If not, I wouldn't be able to let her get pregnant. My children are running around with me, so I don't care about my own children. Besides, I don't feel at ease leaving Yueniang alone at home. Who knows when those people from the Zhang family will come looking for me. I'm lucky this time. Who knows next time? What will be the result? Ask her to help you. How can she, a pregnant woman, help you? I think you are confused. Even if you have to make up a reason, you have to make up a decent one. Why are you two so unsatisfactory and being manipulated by women? I thought you were different. Yang selectively left out the latter part, looking heartbroken. Not to mention that Su Wenyu was nearby, even Han Yu felt a little pain in his head when he saw Yang like this. His mother used to be a very sensible person, how could she become such a temperament? Although Su Wenyu was very dissatisfied, since Han Yu took over the conversation, she stood aside obediently and pretended not to interrupt, leaving everything to Han Yu. Han Yu didn't mean that she had to absolutely trust her husband-in-law. She now practices it. Mom, why do you think so? You are my own mother, and I can't lie to you. I went here this time directly from the 8th grade official position, or the position I got with the help of my father-in-law. I am an official and a soldier. But it's different. Even though I'm just a low-ranking official from the 8th grade, I still have social interactions. When the time comes, there will be things that I can't do as a man, so I'll have to rely on Yueniang to help me. Otherwise, how could I bring the women with me? In the past, could it be that your son was so useless in your eyes that he only thought about his children's personal affairs all day long? Yang didn't know there was such a reason. She said why her son would bring his daughter-in-law with him. It turned out to be such a reason. She didn't expect the Su family to be so capable. She originally thought that Master Su was just a wealthy businessman. He was just rich. She didn't expect that he could also help with the affairs of the court. Her son went to be an official. Yang didn't bother about Su Wenyu going with her. She felt happy. Her son was the first official in the village. No matter how small the official position was, he was still an official. The fourth son had been promising since he was young. He would definitely be very successful in the future. Other people's sons went out to be soldiers, but her son went to be an official. Her son was always a head higher than others. Su Wenyu thought that what Han Yu said was quite true. This son was not vague at all when he fooled his own mother. Yang wouldn't stop him this time. I'm afraid she was eager for her to go with him. In Yang's eyes, besides holding grandchildren, the most important thing was her son's future. After saying goodbye to the Han family, Han Yu set off in a horse-drawn carriage with Su Wenyu and her servant. Because he was concerned about Su Wenyu's pregnancy and was afraid that the bumps would affect the baby in her belly, Han Yu deliberately slowed down the speed when driving the carriage. The journey that should have taken half a day actually took a whole day. Before dusk, the carriage stopped in front of a small courtyard.